Hello again, Psych 370 students, and welcome to one last video lecture for week 13. Guys, the topic that I want to discuss in this one, albeit briefly, is theories of punishment. And the reason that I'm not going to spend a lot of time on these theories is because we've really already talked about the two leading ones. So those two theories are called one process theory and two process theory. And so those terms should sound familiar to you because we just covered them a few weeks ago when we were talking about theories of avoidance. So with these two theories, we're really talking about the same basic ideas as we were then. It's just that now we're applying them to punishment instead of avoidance. So the difference between one process theory and two process theory, as you hopefully recall, is that two process theory invokes both classical and operant conditioning. It says that both classical and operant conditioning play roles in punishment, and one process theory only invokes operant conditioning. So according to two process theory, when an animal performs a response and then experiences the punisher, it associates the stimuli that were present before it performed the response with the aversive, unpleasant aspects of the punisher. So that's the classical conditioning part, okay? It's associating these stimuli. For example, if a rat presses a lever and then it gets shocked, well, the shock naturally elicits fear, right? It functions like an unconditioned stimulus in that regard. It naturally elicits fear as an unconditioned response. And since the side of the lever is being paired with that shock, the lever itself becomes aversive. The lever itself becomes a conditioned stimulus that also elicits fear as a conditioned response. So next comes the operant conditioning part. The rat stops pressing the lever because it fears the lever now. So by suppressing that lever pressing response, by avoiding the lever, it experiences a reduction in its fear. In other words, the behavior of not pressing the lever gets negatively reinforced. By not pressing the lever, the animal's fear gets subtracted. And so that's what it does. It stops pressing the lever. So that's how two process theorists explain punishment. But by contrast, one process theorists claim, just as they do with avoidance, that it's unnecessary to assume that classical conditioning plays a role in punishment. So, just as we saw when we applied this theory to avoidance learning, one process theory argues that operant conditioning is the only process that's involved. So, guys, this is the theory of punishment that I've sort of tacitly endorsed a few times already in the course because I've referred to punishment a few times as essentially the opposite of reinforcement. And that's how one process theorists view punishment. Whereas reinforcement strengthens a behavior, punishment weakens it, and it does so by the same process that reinforcement involves. For example, according to one process theory, if a rat gets shocked for pressing a lever and then becomes less likely to press that lever again in the future, then it isn't necessary to assume that the rat has acquired a fearful conditioned response to the lever, nor is it necessary to assume that moving away from the lever and not pressing it is a behavior that's getting negatively reinforced. Instead, the rat associates the behavior of pressing the lever with the consequence of getting the shock in very much the same manner that a reinforced rat would associate pressing the lever with getting food. In both cases, the animal forms the same basic three term ABC association that we went over a few weeks ago. So, in both punishment and reinforcement, there are discriminative stimuli that precede the behavior. But in reinforcement, the animal learns those stimuli signal desirable consequences of the behavior. So, the behavior increases in frequency. And in punishment, the animal learns that these discriminative stimuli are signaling undesirable consequences of the behavior, so the behavior decreases in frequency. So again, the same process underlies both reinforcement and punishment. They just produce different, diametrically opposed effects on behavior because of the different consequences that they involve. And we don't assume that classical conditioning plays an essential role in reinforcement. So, according to one process theory, we shouldn't assume that it plays an essential role in punishment either. Okay, well, that's about all I have to say about theories of punishment. Like I said before, with these theories, we're really talking about the same basic ideas as we did before when we applied them to avoidance. So I think the concept here is mostly review. But if you do have any questions about this stuff, then please let me know, and I'll be happy to try to help you out. Okay, take care, guys.